I'd like to show that it's possible to edit blocks on the fly in CAD Plus drawings. This drawing calls for some steps going down and some steps going up. If I select this block here, which is called step, I can edit it on the fly. So I can say edit the block. Let's break it up by exploding and even exploding again. What I'm trying to do is get back to the constituent elements of the block. This line through here represents the width of the block. It's set currently at 369. Let's change that and do our editing and make it 350. And we'll unselect all. And we'll pick this line here. And its length is 800. So now we have 800 by 350. We could pick this line here and the construction line that's been drawn there, move the midpoint there and snap to there, come in here, pick the edge, come back there to there, and through here we could pick the bottom line and bring it into position as well. So now we unselect all. We can pick the 4 lines that make up the block in that fashion, and we could right click and join them. Now it's one polyline defining the step. We could change its color if we wanted to. Let's just do that, and we can set its fill. We could say yes, it has a fill. If we wanted to, we could set a border color for it. But can you see we've done a considerable amount of editing to that block? And let's close the block editor, and immediately the block's been redefined and reappears in the drawing. There's no need to rename it at all. So you can edit blocks on the fly and save a great deal of time. Although we've managed to change that block, it's not ideal. If I select one of the blocks that we've just edited, you can see that I cannot see the insertion point. That's going to make copying the block and working with the block somewhat difficult. Now that we know its size, let's use the rectangle command and draw a new rectangle. I'll click here and then move away and use the notation at 350, which was the distance in the x, comma 800, the distance in the y. So now we have a rectangle the same size as that block. We could apply a fill to it. Let's do that. We won't worry about color, but we have a filled rectangle, which is a very simple shape, takes up very little space. And what we want to do is to redefine it. We'll call it step number 1 or step 2, because this block over here is step 1. If I wrap and select the rectangle representing the new step symbol and right click and say create a block, let's call it step 2, and for a pick point I'll nominate some point that's convenient for doing a copy or manipulating it. So I have a choice of any one of these points. What I'll do is nominate the midpoint of one side of the step as a base point. What you'll see is when we select this one in contrast to the yellow one, this one will show us the insertion point. So we're going to convert it to a block. So we could make a description that might be useful to say 350 by 400 millimeter step block. We could even made on layer 0 using block or using color by layer. Sorry, it's color by block here, by block. So what I'm doing is adding a reasonably detailed description of this particular block, which will sit in the drawing. So we'll say OK. Now when I pick it, can you see where we just select it and we have an anchor point? It makes moving it very, very easy. Whereas if we select the earlier one that we edited, the base point is way over in some other direction. I could edit the block and go into the block editor here and look for the base point. Here it is way over here. So this block was made with a base point well away from the object itself. We could move the object now back to base point 0, 0, but that would throw the whole drawing off. We need to place this new block along this line through here. If we select that line, you can see its angle is 11.91. So if I were placing this new block, I would use the rotate command, pick our base point of the block and 11.91 and rotate. Now the block has been rotated by that angle, so then it's a matter of moving the block into position. So it's now angled with the line, so we can remove those blocks. We can erase those. Whoops, let's undo that. I had that one selected as well. So let's pick them and erase those blocks. That's uncovered the original geometry for making the block, which we can use, and maybe we won't. Maybe we will remove that geometry. So now what we want to do is to put this block, there's its base point, needs to be in the mid of this line here. So let's select that green line, and what we can do is, to make life easy for us in the next step, is we can break that line. So modify, break. We can snap to the intersection of, sorry, we need to pick the object first. So we pick the object. The first break point can be the intersection there, and the second break point can also be an intersection there. So now we have the green line that's broken. We can pick our block, pick it by its anchor point, and then by selecting the mid O-snap, we can lock that new block into position accurately. We need to copy that step a number of times, but we want to align it with that line that was at 11.91. So I've gone into polar tracking, set up a new line at an angle of 11.91, and with polar tracking on, we should be able to simply select our block, right click, copy it. If we nominate our snap point there and we move along, and can you see now, I'll deliberately leave a little gap between them, but can you see that the dotted line extending out there is a line at 11.91, and I'll finish and unselect all. Now I've deliberately left a gap there. What we could do is pick a distance step setting of something like 350 plus whatever gap you want to leave, or set it at 350 and they'll butt onto one another. So let's pick those lines which we placed arbitrarily as far as distance apart, but accurately as far as the angle was concerned. Let's erase those. And let's go back to drafting settings, and there's our 11.91. If we say enable a step distance of, we'll say, just to show you, maybe we want to make it look like the one above, so we'll make it 350 for our step size. And now when we return here, we can pick our object, we can copy it, and as we move across in that direction and in that direction, I'll put a number of these in. Can you see how easy that is to, let's unselect all, so we'll knock off that. We probably only need 3, I think, but 1, 2 and 3 steps are in position accurately. Now let's imagine that you wanted, as in the one above, a red line around. Just pick the block, edit the block, select the block, set your colour to colour red. Sorry, I'm wrong. Leave colour at by block. What we do want is a border. Yes, a border, and border colour red. And now close the block editor. And now we have our 3 steps in position, positioned accurately, and we can now use our arrow indicator go to Tools and bring that to the front. And so things are looking a little better